You're listening to the Intuitive Souls Podcast. I am your host, Erica Russo, psychic medium and intuitive development coach. This show is all about giving you the conversations, tools, and wisdom you need to live life the intuitive way. Whether you are waking up, wanting to develop your intuition and connection to spirit, or wanting to live a more magical life, I got you covered. I give you grounded, practical, and insightful content that helps you wake up, level up, and connect with your soul. I'm excited you're here. Let's wake up together. Hey guys, welcome to the Intuitive Souls Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Super excited that you are here. If you are an OG and you keep coming back, you keep listening, you keep growing and expanding and learning to trust your intuition and learning to go within and learning that you hold the power of the universe inside of you. What the fuck is up, guys? Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. I know I say this every episode, but guys, you make this so incredibly easy for me. You make this so enjoyable. I love doing this podcast. I love being able to connect with like-minded individuals and share these conversations, these tools, these tips, these tricks to help you on your path during your awakening, wherever you are on your path. If you've been awakened for a while, or if you're just going through that dark night of the soul, or wherever you are, I'm glad you're here. If this podcast is helping you, if it's giving you the things that you need to hear, if you can head on over to iTunes and write a 5-star review, those reviews allow me to get this podcast to the ears that need to hear it. But before you go ahead and click submit, make sure you take a picture and send it to me at I always screw this up, hello@ericarusso.co. No M, and I'm going to send you my soul alignment activation for free as a thank you for taking that time out of your busy life and writing that review. So this episode is a little different, and I was really excited about it. So I hooked up with my good friend, Psychic Medium Jeni Juranics, and we sat there for about 35 minutes trying to decide what exactly we were going to talk about. And then I realized that I haven't spoken about my mediumship journey and my path in quite some time. So she kind of interviewed me, and it was a lot of fun. I swear, I think that she was like a news reporter in a past life, because she just asked some of the best questions I've ever received. And it really allowed me to show you guys a piece of myself and why I do what I do, why I'm here. And I'm just so grateful that she gave me that opportunity to open up. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I always have fun hanging out with her. If you guys love her as much as I do, which I know you guys do, head on over to Instagram and give her a follow at Psychic Medium Jeni Juranics. She's awesome. She's in Canada. You can obviously tell from her voice because it's not like mine, but we vibe well. I love you, Jenny, and enjoy the show, guys. All right, guys. Today is a very special episode. We've been sitting here for the past 35 minutes trying to figure out what exactly we were going to talk about today. And we finally realized that I don't think you guys have heard my mediumship story and how I came into this path. So Jenny, the amazing Jeni Juranics, is going to be kind of interviewing me on my journey into mediumship and why I'm recording this podcast today and all of that great shit. Jenny, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Erica. This is exciting. I'm glad we finally figured out what to do today. And, I, as a medium, as a fellow medium, I always love hearing other mediums' stories, because I think it's so cool how different we are, right? And then how similar we are too. Mm-hmm. And so this is exciting.
It is.
So Erica, how long have you been doing readings? When did this all, can you pinpoint the year sort of when it came to be for you?
So I first want to start out that I've always been really sensitive. Like I was a very sensitive kid growing up, and uh when I started getting these dream visitations back when I was 19 years old. Um and that was kind of the start of it, but again, I was 19 years old. I didn't know what mediumship looked like. I didn't know what spirit communication looked like. So the first dream visitation I had, it was actually of a kid who went to my high school who, tragically died in a car crash, like right near my neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a intense, vivid dream that I woke up in like this cold sweat, and it felt so real that I had to Google his obituary to see like if this was like legit, because it felt like he was alive. And I just shrugged it off as a bad dream, because I drove past the tree that he crashed into. So again, I just like shrugged it off. And then 2 years later, I had another dream visitation with my grandfather. Again, very vivid, very lifelike. Couldn't go back to bed. Like I woke up at 2 a.m. and I was like, well, that was intense. And then I had 2 other dream visitations after that. But I always just shrugged it off. So in 2016, I had my spiritual awakening. My husband was dealing with really, really bad anxiety that he struggled with his whole life. It just kind of heightened. And being a sensitive, I was feeling everything. So it was a very intense time in our relationship, in our household. It was really dark. And I went to a place of just like everything about my life and every story that I was telling myself, I knew I couldn't tell those stories to myself anymore. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I was. And something told me to just start meditating. So I just started like, I guess you can call me like an accidental medium.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's almost, your life stuff, your personal stuff.
Yeah.
Led you to this place of being able to perceive and open up to spirit.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I never went in being like, I am going to be a psychic medium. Like that's just not my story. Not saying that that's good or bad, but I started meditating and I saw such a difference within myself and how I handled my life and how I was able to control my emotions and my thoughts better. And I started, it was 2 times a day, 20 minutes a day. And within a couple of weeks, when I started being like, you know what, I want to go to 25 minutes. I want to go to 30 minutes. The deeper I went, spirit started showing up in my meditations. And it was very peculiar to me. It was very strange. And the first spirit that showed up was my neighbor's dad. Never met him.
Okay.
Never met him, but he like came in and he waved at me. And this is all through my mind's eye, guys. And then he pointed to where my neighbor is. I'm like, okay, all right. Like, this is interesting. So she dropped by a couple weeks after that. And I was like, hey, this might sound crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I gave her a reading and, the evidence was accurate. And she was like, wow. And I was like, okay.
So that was your very first like official spirit communication, or do you have memories of something before that?
I have a lot of like looking back, I have a lot of memories that now I know doing this work was spirit communication. Like I think I've spoken recently, or not recently, but like in the past, that reading happened and then I had to get my wisdom tooth pulled out. So I had to go 45 minutes down county to an emergency extraction area, wherever. And while I was in this hospital, I had this intuitive knowing that my friend Mike was laid to rest close by this hospital. So I Googled it and it was like 8 minutes away. So I knew that when I left the hospital, I was going to stop by and pay my respects to him. And I mean, this is a crazy story. So I get to this cemetery and there's probably about 1,000 graves. And there's no office or anything where I can find where his grave is. And I just kind of stated, like, I was driving really slow and I just stopped the car and I was like, I'm getting out. I'm giving myself 15 minutes to find his grave. That's it. And I got out of the car and I literally looked up and I said, Mike, show me the way. And I just started walking. Like, I turned right and I just started walking down a path, to, a section of the cemetery. And there was this point where I was at this one particular line of graves and I stopped and I couldn't move anymore. I couldn't put my foot forward. It was crazy. And I turned right and I just started walking this line of graves, and the 9th grave in was him and his mother.
Wow.
And I just dropped to and like, people were like, that was probably the most profound experience I've ever had when it comes to spirit communication. And like, I just remember seeing the gravestone and I just dropped to my knees and I just started crying. I just started bawling my eyes out. And, there were people cutting the grass. I probably looked like, like
they're probably used to it there.
Job. Yeah, they're probably, before. But that was a very profound experience. And that was after I did that reading. And I told my friend Joey about the experience because he was friends with Mike too. And he's like this New Yorker. And he was like, what are you, like Teresa Caputo or something? And I was like, never even like, maybe. So, I kept on meditating. I kept on deepening my meditation practice. And then there was a mediumship development class, like very close to my house a couple months after that. And I went to it and it gave me a lot of confirmation and validation that this connection was real. So I kind of went on the bandwagon and I just like went balls to the wall. I found a mentor. I went to a spiritual development circle every week for over a year. And anytime I could, if I could find like a Facebook group or a circle that was happening online, I would go to it. And I really invested time and energy into strengthening this. And then I just kind of started offering readings. And here
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so as this was unfolding, did you have like a deep knowing within yourself that this is what you're meant to do? Or were you just more curious and kind of letting things happen? Like, what was your kind of like, your perception of why this is happening, when it's happening, how it's happening?
Oh, that's
you remember your kind of daily thoughts there at that time?
I think that I knew that this path was here for a reason. And I do feel like I had a clear knowing that this was work that I was supposed to be doing. Right. I was supposed to be doing this work. And I think that is why I went so deep into it and I took it seriously and I really invested time and energy into it. But I did. I had a knowing, even starting off, even doing like the tallies that I used to do with like accurate hits and everything, just to gain confidence within myself. I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. I think this is like my calling. And even now I'm like, no, I'm definitely doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a good feeling I think for some people in the spiritual kind of world, right? When we finally figure it out, feels to me like I finally figured it out, right? And it's a good thing. But then that doesn't mean it's easy. So, when you first kind of committed to taking this path and started developing and going to the circles and really working on it, did you have a lot of fear or worries about what your family would think, or like how did you handle that stuff? What happened there?
Well, my grandmother is the deacon to the Episcopal Church.
Okay.
My parents, I come from a very conservative household. Um, but I must say that, growing up, I was always intrigued by the unknown and the occult. Like my first tarot deck was actually gifted by my extremely conservative father on Christmas I think I was like 16 years old.
Okay.
It's very, my parents support me in a way that they can support me, if that makes any sense. It was never like, there was never any like, okay, we're going to support you regardless of what you do for a living or anything. There was never any conversation like that. But like my dad, he's a very silent supporter, I have to say. Like he'll buy me, like he bought me a book about Lily Dale, like just a couple months ago. And like he does things like that show me that they support what I'm doing and they're proud of me. I wouldn't say that I was afraid of what my parents thought, because I know that deep down, it might take them a while to be okay with what I'm doing and see that what I'm doing is something that I'm passionate about. I think it was more of everybody else.
Okay. Like
I
people
live in
you went to high school with, or like old friends, or just,
right. Yeah. Like
what
something
are
like
they all of a sudden Erica's a medium. What are they going to think? Are those kind of things? That's how I felt for sure. Like, well, first of all, there's this whole other side of me that I just haven't been showing you my whole life. So there's that, right? And I'm sure you can relate.
Right.
But I remember a bit of that too. So did you have anybody that you lost in your life, or friendships, or okay?
Oh yeah. So I was actually part of a mom's club in my town. And I mean, talk about a toxic environment, but when I came out of the closet, so to speak, it wasn't like I just like jumped out and I was like, I talk to dead people. Hey, no, it was very slow. And it was a process for me. Like I first opened up to a couple of people like I felt I could trust. And then I just gradually kind of opened up and created the Facebook page and everything. And I will never forget this. I ran into somebody at Target who was part of the Moms Club, and we were cordial. We went to a couple of play dates together or whatever. And this was when like I was like coming out of the closet, like I was, and and she's like, oh, what have you been doing? We miss you in the Moms Club, because I left the Moms Club. And I said, well, like my life's been pretty crazy. Like I'm a medium now. And she literally was like, oh, oh. And I went home that night and she unfriended me and put Jesus lover in her caption.
Okay.
So that felt really good.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that felt really great. Yeah.
That's
I guess
sarcasm, right?
Right. Yeah. Very much sarcasm.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah. And, I lost people, but I wouldn't even.
What have you gained?
Loss. Exactly. It's like if they're going to be like that and if they're going to be judgmental, that's on them. That is on their own fucking healing, man. Like it is not on me. I'm helping more people being open about who I am and what I do than me sitting in the closet being afraid of what my frenemy from the Moms Club or my third cousin once removed thinks about me. And I think that's a big thing when it comes to this work and putting yourself out there as a medium or as an intuitive, because it really is like, what are people going to think about me?
Yeah.
And something that really helped me was the book, The Four Agreements. It's like a 40,000 page book. It's a very small book, but it's a very powerful book. And one of the agreements is basically like, it's none of your business what people think of you.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Don't take it personally one.
Yeah. Don't take it personally, because it isn't personal. It isn't personal.
Yeah.
It's never been about you. And that has really helped me. And it still helps me to this day, do what I do and be open on the internet about all of this.
That's amazing. So what would you feel at this point? You know, you're 2016, so like going on 5 years in.
Oh my God, it's going to be 20.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you feel at this point is your reason for continuing? Because we both know as mediums, it's not always easy.
No.
But like you said, you know you're doing what you're meant to be doing. What kind of gets you up in the morning with this stuff? What really lights you up when you are giving readings and connecting people with their loved ones and mentoring other mediums? Like, what's your driving passion at this point? Because it's always going to change, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, to be completely honest, as you know, and as any medium will know, you're going to have readings where you're going to shock yourself with what comes through and the healing and the transformation and the love that comes through in a reading. And then you're going to have readings where it's like you're trying to tune in to like an old radio station.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, you know? And I think it's those readings that come through and you just get that one piece of evidence where you're just like, there is no way that this is not spirit communication.
Yeah.
There is no way. Like, miracles happen. Like, I am a witness of miracles.
Yeah.
It's those readings that just like, you know, your jaw is dropping and it's like, what just happened? Where you're literally just the tube. You're just the tube. You're out of your own mind and you're just giving the messages that you are receiving. And I think it's those readings that I do it for. And it's also like, I love watching my clients shock themselves. Like it's so validating for me to be like, you know, cause I throw them into the lion's den. Like I will just like the first one-on-one, I'm like, do a reading for me. And they are so afraid, like they're like trembling. And I'm like, no, let's do this. I'm going to coach you through it and everything. And then just seeing their eyes light up and like their jaw drop and like, you know, just the smile that they have. It's just so genuine and validating. And that's what I do it for. I think those are the things that I do it for, is just like, just seeing someone else shock themselves. You know, it really is. So it feels so good to me, being able to witness that and to help them do it. It's so great.
And it just kind of, I think I know what you mean there, where you know, for those moments when a really great piece of evidence comes through, or like you said, you're shocking yourself, you just have that sense of, wow, there's something so much bigger than we can even fathom. But I have a glimpse of that, right? Yeah. Is that kind of what you mean, where you just feel that?
Absolutely.
Just that, I don't know. I guess maybe it's love, right? That's the only way to describe it to me.
That's all I can think of. 'Cause it's just like, this world is crazy. There's so much going on in this world, and there's so much healing that needs to be done. And even with our own personal lives, it can get really stressful. You know, we're moms, we're business owners, we're juggling so much at one time, where we feel the stress too. Like I feel it, you know what I mean? And to have those couple of seconds where you are just like, wow, there really is something bigger than the story that we tell ourselves. There really is something so much greater and so much more powerful than this physical world that we live in. Those little glimpses of hope are kind of the things that make me wake up in the morning, you know?
Yeah. You just get kind of a little break from reality, you know, like daily life, and you can kind of come closer to that beautiful feeling of spirit. Yeah. So what would you say is the absolute hardest part about being a medium, you know, giving readings, doing the thing? What's the hardest or the scariest, or, you know, what have you really learned that was once hard?
So starting on my mediumship path, I thought I was a pretty easygoing person. Like I was always very go with the flow. And then doing this work, I realized that I was more type A than I thought I was. It was always like, I need more evidence. I need better evidence. I need to know all the things. I need to blow this person away in this reading. And I think that was a lack of surrender and trust that I think a lot of us struggle with is, the whole surrender part, because we control our lives, regardless if you think that you're a control freak or, or if you're controlling, we do control our lives very much so, and we have to remember that the divine, if we allow ourselves to surrender and to truly trust, the divine will give us more than our little muggle minds will ever give us. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's, and I still battle it. Being a type A and needing to have, good evidence and validation and to make them feel like, to bring spirit more closer so I can truly feel the person that I'm connecting with. That was a big thing for me. And another thing too is kind of like the stories that come up, because sometimes, there are tragic stories that you will learn about doing this work. And it rocks your soul. Like, we have to remember, like, there are murders and there are tragic losses of young children and suicides, and doing this work, you're getting them all.
Yeah.
You're getting them all. And, there was actually one reading that I did that was at the workshop that I met you at, and you probably read for her too, where it was like her 4-year-old son.
I don't think that I did.
It might have. Yeah, maybe not, but
there's so many people.
There was a lot of people there, but I did a reading and her 4-year-old son came through, and it was a very emotional reading for me. Mm-hmm. I think because I had a 4-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
And, the son came through with big blue eyes, and my son has big blue eyes. And I had to run downstairs to the bathroom and cry, because sometimes readings are going to come that you need for your own healing, and we've spoken about this in another episode where it really is true. Sometimes the messages that come through are the messages that you need to hear.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's the type A kind of thing for me. And I've gotten a lot better. Like, trust me when I tell you I've gotten a lot better, but it's still something that it's just like, it's something that I know I'm going to have to work on for years, if not for the rest of my life.
Well, this is it, right? I don't think that as a medium, we ever come to a place where we're done learning and developing. You're a lifelong student. And so just get used to that, right? Be okay with that. Are there any things from your childhood or your earlier life that you've experienced, even just simple things? Here's an example of what I mean. For me, my mom's family is French. And so every summer we would go to New Brunswick, and my whole family would just be speaking French, and I don't speak French. So I would be there listening to them speak and understanding what they're saying intuitively, but not knowing, what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
And so I feel that has really fed my mediumship in a way that, had I not experienced that as a kid, I don't know if it would be the same for me. Do you feel like you have anything like that from when you were younger that impacts your mediumship in a strange way? Have you ever kind of put pieces together like that?
Honestly,
jobs that you've had that required a certain skill, or relationships with people?
Oh God, you got good ass questions. I guess I can just say, like, looking back now and being more spiritually aware and how spirit communicates with us, because it's not just through us, guys. It's through numbers, it's through signs, it's through synchronicities. There were a lot of things in my childhood that, looking back now, oh yes, now it's coming up. Thank you. I just like downloaded it to me. So when I was 6, my grandparents had a house in upstate, and it was the middle of January, so it was snowing. So we were going down this really steep hill, going sleigh riding, and I went down, and my grandmother was on the back of like the tube thing or whatever, and I was in the front, and we hit a rock that kind of made us go crashing down, and I ended up having to get 17 stitches. Like you could see it like right up here on my forehead. And the whole time I woke up in the snow with blood everywhere, right? I didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel a thing. Like you would have thought like I would have been beside myself and in so much pain. I'm telling you, like, it is so vivid in my mind. Like it felt like I was just bouncing off a pillow.
Wow.
And looking back now, and I didn't think of it for years, you know what I mean? I just got stitches and it was the end of it. And looking back now, a couple of years ago, I was doing a meditation and this memory popped in. I haven't thought about it in years. And I realized that it was like my guide. It was my guide protecting my head so I wouldn't get hurt.
Yep.
You know, because I literally kind of saw the hand going underneath my head before hitting on the rock. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, now it makes sense.
And we have no idea how many times
that's happened.
And that goes for every single person on this planet.
Because I guess, I mean, what the doctor told my parents was like, I could have been brain dead with the way my head hit the rock, or I could have broken my neck.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was like, it was a miracle kind of thing. And I was just, that came up again, like that memory came up and I was like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. Like it really is, hindsight is 2020. And there's so many people that I have worked with that like, they get so validated with experiences that they've had in their life where they're like, you know, once they have connected with their spirit guides or with the other, you know, the spirit world, you know, it's not just a coincidence anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's how spirit works. Spirit is intelligent. And I guess that was the big thing that happened to me that I think really shaped not just my mediumship, but really truly how connected our guides are. Even if we don't feel them, even if we don't see them or sense them or receive messages from them, they really are always there.
Yeah.
They're always there.
Yep. It doesn't matter what you believe.
Right. It doesn't matter what you believe. You could be atheist, you can be agnostic, whatever it is, everybody has guides. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm just so, you know, with everybody that's in the Modern Mystic Society and everything, I'm very like, connect with your guides, establish a relationship with them because they've been there since the very beginning and they want to help you and they want to be connected with you. So yeah, that was the big thing for me.
Wow. Really cool. So I know that you have loved ones of your own that are in spirit. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned your friend that's passed away as well. When you connect with your own people, or do you? I guess that's the question I'm really asking is, do you feel them with you now kind of daily? Do you call on them? And when you become aware of them, is it the same for you as connecting with like a stranger's person?
See,
describe the difference.
Okay. That's another good question because I think a lot of the times when we connect with our loved ones, I feel as though it's a different experience than connecting with someone who we don't know, who's just coming for a reading, because we're comfortable in that energy with our loved ones. We know them. We know how we feel when we're around them. We know the things that they do. And, you know, I definitely do have a particular Mike. He has been someone who we're closer now that he's in spirit than what we were when he was on the physical realm. And he has been such a help for me. I'm going to get emotional. He's just been there since the very beginning of my development. And he comes through in a lot of readings that people do for me. And, you know, there's times where I get emotional because it's like, I'm human too. And it's like, sometimes you just want to thank him. Sometimes I just want a hug, and I just want him to know like how grateful I am for him and how much that he has really tremendously helped me. I mean, again, like he comes through so much in readings for with other people, and it's like you know, that requires a lot of energy on their part. That requires a lot of lowering their vibration. So I'm very grateful that he will just take one for the team and come in and, you know, bring such great evidence. And it's just amazing. And, you know, my grandfather will come through, and there's been a time where I was in a circle and I was just so type A, being like evidence, 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 where it was like, I had all this evidence of my grandfather. I was like, oh, he wore suspenders and he wore a white shirt and he had 3 grandkids and one of them just moved and nobody could take him. And I was like, this is, you know, this evidence is here and I know that he's here. And then I'm looking down at the piece of paper that I'm writing everything on, and it's like, oh shit, it's my grandpa.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that will happen too, because you get just so focused, like,
well, you're assuming it's for someone else. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I got, you know, frustrated because I'm like, guys, I have all of this evidence and no one's taking it. And then I'm just like, wait, hey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you call on do you call on Mike and ask for assistance? It's almost sounded to me like you feel like he assists you with your readings. Is that what you're experiencing? Or it's almost like
when I'm training and when I'm coaching someone through mediumship, yes, I call upon him because he, you know, you'll learn that like how they were in life, if they were vibrant and funny and filled with energy, they usually come through that way in a reading.
Yeah.
And he's probably the most vibrant person that I know in the spirit world. So, you know, when he comes through, he comes through, like he definitely comes through. And I do call upon him, you know, when I'm working with clients and stuff, because he's just very easy to connect with. As far as my mediumship is concerned, and when I'm doing a reading, I just connect with my guide.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What about animals? Do you connect with animals often?
Not, you know, it's not my strong suit. Like living animals or spirit.
No, like animals that have passed in
spirit.
They
come through. They do come through. I've had readings where like dogs will come through. I've had a cat come through once. I think it also depends on like the connection to the sitter. Like, were they really truly attached to this dog? Yeah. Was it, was it, the dog of their lifetime? Was it the person, or was it the spirit that they wanted to connect with? Because, most of the time it's a person a person that they want to try to communicate with. So, but I have definitely had animals come through. Yeah.
I often, when an animal comes through for me, when I perceive one, there's times where I just know, okay, there's an animal beside me. I'm not good with like telling the type of breed. Like I just know this is a dog. I just know dog energy. But most of the time when I perceive an animal, it's with another loved one. Like the person I'm connecting with will say, oh, and by the way, I have your dog here for when you get here. You know, I'm looking after Poochie for you, that kind of thing. Do you find connecting with children is different as well? Like what's the difference?
So connecting with children, here's the thing. I have never had a child come through without some sort of adult spirit accompanying them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Same thing for me.
They never are lost. They're never not with someone who can take care of them. That's a big thing, because I know that people are very scared when, you know, that happens with their kids. But every single time, and the thing with kids is like if they passed really young, like they weren't even speaking yet, I do find it a little harder to communicate and get messages.
Same.
A lot of the times the person that they're with, maybe the grandmother, the grandfather, will do most of the talking for the child. But I have seen kids grow up in spirit.
Yeah. Well, like sometimes it's hard to connect them or for the sitter to understand who it is, because you're seeing them at the age that they would be.
Right.
You know, maybe they're coming through as a 10 or a 12-year-old, but maybe they were only 2 when they passed. Right. So I know sometimes I find it, you have to work a little bit harder to connect the pieces for sure when it comes to kids. And because it's such a sensitive subject too, right, for the parents. So
yeah, very, very sensitive. And those are definitely the readings that are just like a sucker punch, you know, for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, and I think too is like, you know, something that Janet taught me was you have to create like whiteboard rules where it's like, you have to come in the age that you died.
Yeah. So you almost set that expectation for the spirit communicator. This is how I need you to communicate through me. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Right. I do that often. You know,
it doesn't hit, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes they're like, no, I got my own personality. Thanks. I'm going to come out through how I want to come through. I know that happens, you know, more often. Well, I don't know. It's like 60-40, you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, that's a really great way to kind of go into a reading, right? Like here, as a human being, as Erica, the medium, I need you to kind of help me out in this way so that we can help your loved one, right? The person that is here before me. Yeah. What's the easiest, quickest way we can get information to them? So that's really awesome having a, you know,
you gave me a really great tool, because you do a lot of gallery readings, and I was going back and forth with doing a gallery reading when we first met. And you know, I was just like, I'm just afraid that it will, like, I'll just look like an idiot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, you said, well, I wrote down everything. I wrote down my rules. Like, I want names. I want this. I want that. And I did that. And I did my first gallery reading, and it went by fine, you know? And it really is. I think we have to remember that we have the power within us. We are the vessel. We are, you know, the spirit communicator. The person that's connecting the physical realm with the spiritual realm. And we have to remember that power that we hold and that we can make the rules. Don't let, you know, I've seen so many people kind of let spirit take the reins almost. And they give it a little too much power. And it's like, no, we don't do that.
Searching in the dark a bit there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like I said, you know, you if you go in with your preferred, let's say preferred expectations, the things that you prefer, how you would love the reading to unfold, but then there is that level of needing to surrender and letting spirit say what and when and how and for how long, right?
Yeah.
There you do have that kind of, like you said, type A, and then go with the flow and just
it's a lot of work.
Dance. So you're constantly having to be in motion in that way. And and reworking how you work with who you're working with. So really cool.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of inner work.
Awareness and self-awareness.
Oh, self-awareness. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a different experience when you connect with somebody who passed like 20 plus years ago? Do you perceive them differently than you would perceive someone who maybe just passed like 5 years ago?
Usually that will come through for me. Like it will feel
aware of it.
Yeah, I will be aware. It usually feels like it's weird. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I feel I'm very clairsentient, so it feels like, oh, this is a 3 to 5 year gap. This is they passed within 5 years. And sometimes it comes in and it's like this person has been gone for a long time.
Yeah, and you can just feel it energetically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like I'm pulling them through a fog or through a quicksand almost. There's just this like pulling feeling, and then once they get here, they're here, like there's that just some sort of, it's interesting. I'm still trying to put my finger on why that would be, other than simply just time. But time is an earth thing. It's not like there's no time in the spirit world. So right. What the heck does that mean?
I don't know. Like, I'm still trying to figure this shit out.
Yeah, I know. There's still so many questions that you have, right? Yeah. And sometimes I'm sure you must feel this way, that even to verbalize your questions, you have this this knowledge that's coming to you, and being able to verbalize the question sometimes is really hard too. It's like, I'm learning something and I don't even know what it is. Do you ever feel that way, that you can't even quite bring it to your own consciousness? And so, it's just that, like we said, an everyday journey. You never stop learning.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like sitting here shaking my head, because it's just like, I never expected my life to take this turn and to be doing this work. But it, some days it's like, I give up. I can't do this. I need to take a break. I can't. There's been a lot of times, like even one of my teachers was like, she's been doing this work for 10 years. And she says, I've given up so many times. I've had to take a step back from this mediumship work because it's too much.
Yeah.
It throws you into the path of healing yourself, whether you are aware of it or not. You're a better medium when you do your own healing.
Yeah.
And you are aware of the belief systems that you hold and everything like that. So it's this work. Like I've had readings where they just took me down energetically, physically, emotionally, where I had to like stop. I just had to like give myself a break. And there's been a lot of mediums that I've come in contact with, and they do the same. They take months off because it's like, it's work.
Do you find certain times of year are harder than others? Just kind of energetically, what maybe the season or kind of what's happening in the world?
I mean, it really is all, I think a lot of it is like what's going on in your own personal life. You know what I mean? Like if you are dealing with something, if you are having issues in your marriage or your kids or someone is sick and you're worried and your vibrations are a little lower, it's going to be harder for you to connect. I think that it really is all about balance. And trying to master the art of balance. And I don't think anyone's ever going to master it.
No.
But we have to try at least. I do notice that in the month of October, especially in circles, there's a lot of piggybacks that come through in the readings because the veil's being a little bit more lifted. But honestly, for me, it's just what's going on in my own personal life. Like I have to take inventory. Like that's what I like to call it. Like what's going on with me energetically, emotionally, physically. Am I able, am I in a good mental health position where I can just be the tube?
Yeah.
you know?
How do you know when you're getting to a place where you need a break? What's like, for me, I find that it creeps up on me and I'm maybe in denial or ignoring for a little bit. And then, a few weeks go by and then I'm like, oh, this is because I'm tired and I need a break. Like, what is it for you that gets you to that point?
I think it's just working a little too much. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this is really emotionally draining work. This is energetic work at its finest. And like, for me, one mediumship reading a day, I'm good. I'm good.
So that's your max. You just know that about yourself.
Yeah. Like 130.
Push yourself beyond that.
I've pushed myself and I did like 3 readings one day and I was fried for days.
Yeah.
So I knew that was too much for me.
And that's important to know because I think sometimes as mediums, we compare ourselves to other mediums, right? Especially someone who's been doing it for a lot longer and maybe they're doing 6 a day, which, for me, 3 is my max. That like you said, you're fried after that. And so just knowing and respecting that about yourself is huge. And I think that's where we kind of start to get into that somewhat place of balance, right?
And another thing that I realized as well, and something that needs to be brought up is that like, I've seen mediums just like you said, 5, 6 readings a day. And I'm like, how are they doing this? How are they doing this?
What's the quality of those readings?
They're probably not empaths.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I know. Can you not be an empath and be a medium?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Matthew Stapley is not an empath. And he's obviously, doing good for himself. I was shocked.
Or is he an empath that feels as though he now can manage?
No, he's not an empath. He said he never had that
talk
problem.
To this guy sometime. It's ridiculous. He's only like 2 hours away from me.
He's awesome. But like when he told me, he was like, yeah, no, I'm not an empath. He's just always been very psychic. And I was like,
great. Good for him.
You're so lucky.
I don't feel like my empathic tendencies get in the way anymore. And that's why I asked but yeah, no, it's definitely makes it tough.
And it's not just that for me. It's like, we also have to realize like, okay, 3 mediumship readings, that's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot, especially if you're doing 30 to an hour clips. You're also in charge of other humans. You're also in charge of a household. We're also moms. We're also having to pay bills and have all of the responsibilities of life on top of those. It's like we need to know when to stop.
Yeah. And know that in the future that can change.
Absolutely.
Not that I want my kids to move out, but I'm excited for the time of my life where I can do more and I can offer more to my clients. But you just have to let that come when it's time. When you were little, what did you, the whole, when I grow up, I want to be X. What did you say? Do you remember having an answer to that?
I wanted to be so many things. The first thing I wanted to do was be an Egyptologist, believe it or not.
Okay.
Like in 7th grade, we learned about Egypt and I just became absolutely obsessed with it, obsessed with the history and the mythology. And I just thought it was so cool, the mummies and all of that. And I was just, that's what I want to be. I want to move to Cairo and I want to be an Egyptologist. I don't know where this came from. My dad was like so proud that I wanted to do that. And then there was a time where it was like, I was considering going into the National Guard. And then I actually went to school I have a bachelor's degree in business administration.
Okay.
I don't really think like it was never, you know what I mean? Like some people just know that like in 6th grade, I'm going to be a teacher and then they become a teacher, or I'm going to be a doctor and then they become a doctor. It was never like that for me. I feel like I was always trying to figure out what was the right thing for me to do with the rest of my life. Right. It was never like a clear knowing, like, football players are like, I was going to be in the NFL. They're in the NFL. They wanted to be an actor. They became an actor. It was never like that for me. I never had a clear thing that I knew I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think that seems to be, from what I hear from a lot of mediums, that's the way it goes, right? Or like you said, you know, you go to school and you become a nurse, and then 10 years into that, guess what? I'm a medium now. You know, I think it's pretty common. It just sneaks up, sort of like it did with you. Your life was just happening. You thought, I'm going to meditate. And then here you are, you know, like you've done so much in just a few years that, you know, it shows you that you are doing the right thing. You are on the right path. That's awesome.
Thank you for that. You are such a good interviewer.
I am.
You are. I'm like, wow, she's really doing, and this is like a spur of the moment thing. So I'm like, damn, girl.
But this, you know, like I said, I love talking about mediumship, and I love understanding. And this is, you know, for any medium out there who's just coming to this or questioning their own abilities, watch interviews, listen to things just like this, because that's how I learned. I didn't learn from just books. It was more understanding another person, understanding how does it work for them, and then comparing it to your own brain. Because at the end of the day, it's just getting to know your brain, right? And believing in yourself. So
yeah, I agree with that. I think I shared this on the first time you ever came on the podcast, but I am fascinated in the history of mediumship and just all of that. It's just so fascinating to me. And I came across this like really dicey documentary about mediumship. I don't know where I got it from, if it was on Gaia or Amazon Prime, but it was like old. I think it was made in the 80s or the 90s. And there was one medium that was on it. And I think they're pretty well known. I think they were in Canada. And he said, mediumship is like someone throwing a puzzle in front of you, 1,000-piece puzzle in front of you, without the picture, and you trying to figure out what this picture is.
Yep.
When he said that, I was like, that is the best representation of this shit show.
Yeah. Like, oh, what's this? You're showing me a hammer.
Yeah.
Oh, you're telling me, you know, yes, I know. Why are you showing me this hammer? Where does it go? Where in this puzzle is this, at the top or the bottom?
Right.
Does it make sense to you, or does it make sense to your mother who's not even here?
Yeah.
I know. There's so many pieces to put together.
Absolutely. But that was great. I think I need to interview you next time.
Okay.
That would be
down for that.
But thank you so much for this interview. That was great. I wouldn't even have thought of those questions, honestly. So you killed it.
Okay, good.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
Want a place to develop your psychic and mediumship abilities? The Modern Mystic Society is now open for enrollment. This is a low-cost monthly membership that gives you access to monthly trainings, 4 virtual live development sessions, and access to a community of like-minded healers, lightworkers, and mystics for less than $1.20 per day. Head on over to ericarusso.co to join today, but hurry, this offer is closing soon. I'll see you inside the society.